right, settle down. You future titans of industry. It's your boy Jordan Belfort back in the house, and I'm about to drop a truth bomb that's gonna change the way you see every dollar, every decision, and every opportunity. Most people, they live their entire lives with the mindset of a customer. They think about how to spend money, how to consume money, how to get rid of money. And that, my friends, is why they stay broke. But the rich, the truly wealthy, they think like banks. They think about how to deploy capital, how to invest money, how to make money work for them. This isn't just a mindset shift. It's the single most important mental transformation for wealth creation on the planet. Look around you. The world isn't just a place to buy things. It's a system of capital flows. Money is constantly moving, shifting, accumulating, and you're either standing on the sidelines waiting for a paycheck to blow, or you're learning how to command and control those flows for your own unapologetic enrichment. Today, we're dissecting the banker's mindset. We're breaking down their ruthless understanding of leverage, their obsession with assets versus liabilities, and their mastery of calculated risk for maximum return. We're talking about a level of strategic thinking that most people never even glimpse. Stop seeing the world through the soft, limited lens of a consumer. It's time to see it as a vast ocean of capital that you can command. This isn't about being liked. This is about being powerful. This is the key to the kingdom. Are you ready to abandon the broke mindset of a customer and step into the limitless potential of thinking like a bank? Then buckle up, because the wealth game is about to change forever. The Sol 1, capital deployment versus consumption. The fundamental shift. Listen up! The core difference between the rich and the poor, between the winners and the whiners, is their fundamental relationship with money. The poor think in terms of consumption. The rich think in terms of capital deployment. Money is a tool, not a toy for the customer. Money is a toy. It's for immediate gratification, for spending, for buying things that depreciate, for the bank. Money is a tool. It's raw material, fuel, ammunition to be deployed strategically to generate more. This is the bedrock of the millionaire blueprint. The fastest way to become a millionaire is not to earn your way there through wages, but to own your way there by acquiring assets like businesses or real estate. While earning might take a decade of saving every penny, owning allows for massive accelerated wealth creation through multipliers. Rhetorical question. Are you seeing your paycheck as permission to spend or as capital to deploy? This single question dictates your financial future. Assets versus liabilities. The customer loads up on liabilities. Fancy cars that depreciate, houses that drain cash, endless gadgets. The bank, however, focuses on assets. Things that put money in their pocket. A true asset doesn't just hold value, it generates more value. A business that makes $250,000 profit a year, automated and with a team, can be sold for $1 million net worth. That's owning your way to wealth. The illusion of earning. Most people spend their lives chasing higher wages thinking they'll save their way to riches. But earning is a linear game. It's taxed, it's consumed, and it's always limited by your time. Owning, deploying capital, that's where the exponential growth lives. It's about creating systems that generate money, not just trading your hours for dollars. Story time. The landlord versus the tenant. Once saw two guys. One, a hardworking tenant, busted his ass every day, earned a good paycheck, and spent every extra dollar on the latest gadgets, fancy dinners, and depreciating toys. He was the ultimate customer, always consuming. The other guy, a shrewd landlord, didn't make as much initially, but every penny he earned, he deployed. He bought a small rental property, then another, then another. He thought like a bank, not a customer. The tenant lived for today, always in debt, always chasing the next high. The landlord lived for tomorrow, constantly reinvesting, building a system that generated cash flow. A few years later, the tenant was still trading hours for dollars, barely keeping up. The landlord, he was retired, living off the assets he had methodically deployed. He didn't just earn more money, he owned more money. That's the brutal truth of capital deployment versus consumption. 2, the power of focus. No diversification early on. The customer thinks diversity is safety. They spread their money thin across a dozen different opportunities, hoping one will hit. The bank, however, understands the immense power of focus, especially in the early stages of wealth creation. Concentrated force, disproportionate returns. For people starting out, their most valuable resource isn't money, it's time and attention. Most spread themselves thin, multitasking between multiple ventures, hoping one takes off. But it's arrogant to think your 10% attention, spread across 10 things, can compete against someone putting 100% effort into one thing. The reality is, any of them could work if you put the work in. It's not which one will work, it's which one will you work on. Analogy. Imagine filling a cup. If you spread your water between 7 cups, none will overflow. If you focus all your water into one cup, it will overflow. And then you have profitable cash to deploy into other areas. The millionaire myth. The myth is that millionaires have 7 income streams. The brutal truth is the wealthiest people in the world go all in on one income stream until it overflows. Only then do they diversify to maintain wealth, not create it. You don't make money by splitting your attention, you make it by focusing on the one thing that matters most. The valley of despair, where customers quit. As an entrepreneur, you go through phases: uninformed optimism, informed pessimism, and then the valley of despair. This is where most people quit. They find another shiny object, another green grass opportunity, not realizing that there's Shasta is cast on both sides of the fence. They keep repeating the cycle without making progress. The bank understands this valley. It pushes through. It knows that the fastest way through the "I have no idea what I'm doing" phase is to go all in until you do know what you're doing. Story time, the serial dabbler. I knew a guy who was a serial dabbler. He jumped from crypto to real estate, flipping to online courses, always chasing the next big trend. He'd invest a little time, a little money in each, but never enough to see any of them through the tough initial phase. He was like a butterfly flitting from flower to flower, but never collecting enough nectar to make honey. He thought he was diversifying. He was actually scattering his capital. I told him, "You're acting like a customer sampling everything. A bank doesn't sample, it invests deeply in a few chosen opportunities." He resisted, claiming he was keeping his options open. I showed him the data. His scattered efforts yielded fragmented results. He finally committed to one venture, funneling all his time, all his attention, all his capital into it. He pushed through the valley of despair, through the boredom, through the low dopamine phases. And when that one venture finally exploded, he had enough capital to then buy into other proven opportunities. He went from sampling to commanding. 3. Solving pain, extracting value, the banker's market view. The customer looks for a good deal. The bank looks for deep market pain and the ability to pay. This is a brutal truth. Sell to rich people until you have the money to sell to poor people. The middle is where you get killed. Market is king. The market is always the strongest variable in how much money you make. If you were selling toilet paper during COVID, you'd sell out because there was a starving crowd. Supply and demand is the strongest force in all economics and business. Identify deep pain with purchasing power. A bank doesn't lend money to people who can't pay it back. Similarly, your business should target people who are in pain, desperate need for your solution. Have the ability to buy purchasing power, are easy to target, and are in a growing market. A friend of mine helped unemployed people fix resumes. Tons of pain, but they couldn't buy. Premium pricing and over-delivery. To someone who only has $1,000, paying you $100 is 10% of their net worth. Their expectations are sky high. To a rich person, $100 is insignificant. It's easier to solve rich people problems because they're willing to pay more in an absolute sense for lower relative value. With that extra profit, you can absolutely over-deliver for them and still make money without needing massive infrastructure. Example, Tesla started selling the Roadster $250,000 to rich people, then moved down to $100,000 cars, then the Model 3 for the mass market. They built the infrastructure for volume only after generating capital from premium sales. Story time. A luxury service provider. I knew a guy who started a service business. He tried to cater to everyone, offering cheap services to the masses. He was always busy, always stressed, but barely breaking even. His customers were demanding, complained constantly, and nickel and dimed him. He was acting like a desperate customer, begging for any sale. I told him, stop being a cheap date. You're trying to win on volume without the infrastructure. Start thinking like a bank, identify the deepest pain in a niche, and find people who can pay to solve it. He shifted his focus to high net worth clients, charging a premium. His client base shrank, but his profits exploded. He suddenly had the resources to over-deliver, to provide a white glove service that made his clients ecstatic. He learned that one high-value client who respects your price is worth 100 low-paying headaches. That's the banker's view of the market. The offer architecting irresistible value for strategic deployment. A bank structures its offerings not just to be attractive, but to compel action. They minimize the perceived cost to the client while maximizing the perceived benefit. This is the value equation. The value equation, your persuasion formula. Value is determined by 4 variables. Dream outcome. What the prospect wants most? Are you making them handsome or a millionaire? The bigger the dream outcome, the higher the value. Perceived likelihood of achievement. How likely do they believe they will achieve the dream outcome by buying from you? Higher likelihood means higher value. A year of personal training has higher perceived likelihood than a $50 ebook. Time delay. How long will it take them to get the result? Less time equal. Sign more value. Rich people pay a lot for speed. Effort and sacrifice. What do they have to start or stop doing? Less effort, sacrifice equals sign more value. If you can make it effortless, that's the hypothetical extreme of value. Example, an agency offering content that takes 60 days to ramp up requires calls and studio visits versus one that can immediately start posting and get results today. The latter is far more valuable because it minimizes time and effort. Hidden costs. Often, the most expensive part of an offer isn't the money, it's the hidden costs of time, effort, and sacrifice for the client. A bank designs its offerings to minimize these. They streamline processes, automate where possible, and take on the burden so the customer's perceived cost is low. The largest lever offers are about strategy. Changing your offer affects all departments: marketing, sales, delivery. This is one of the largest levers you can pull in any business to disproportionately increase profit and revenue. Story time. The copywriter who understood value. I knew a copywriter talented, but he was struggling to get high-paying clients. He'd offer his services, and clients would always try to haggle him down. He was thinking like a customer, focusing on his hourly rate. I told him, you're selling hours, not outcomes. A bank sells the solution to a problem, not the process. You need to craft offers that speak to their deepest desires, minimize their perceived effort, and guarantee results. We redesigned his offers around the value equation. He started offering not just copywriting, but a guaranteed lead generation campaign in 30 days or your money back. His prices went up tenfold, but so did his client list. Why? Because he articulated the dream outcome leads, made the likelihood undeniable, guaranteed, minimized the time delay 30 days, and crushed the effort sacrifice. He did all the work. He learned that the price becomes irrelevant when the value is perceived as infinite. That's how banks capture value. They create irresistible offers. I need 5, strategic marketing and sales, deploying attention as capital. The customer views marketing as spending money on ads. The bank views marketing as deploying attention as capital, meticulously directing resources to generate specific returns. The quad marketing calendar, all directions, all the time. Most businesses spend all their time advertising to get prospects, but a bank thinks holistically. You need to be marketing in all 4 directions simultaneously. To prospects, attract new clients. To customers, generate repeat business. To candidates, attract top talent. And to employees, keep them engaged and valuable. Rhetorical question. Are you only thinking about acquiring new customers? Or are you also thinking about the human capital needed to deliver value and the recurring revenue from existing clients? Core 4 advertising methods. There are 4 primary ways you can advertise. Warm outreach one-to-one to people who know you. Content one-to-many to people who know you. Paid ads one-to-many to strangers. And cold outreach one-to-one to strangers. If you're not doing enough of these, you're not going to get leads. Sales is a choreographed process. Sales isn't just charisma, it's a choreographed process. If you don't know what you're doing, you throw stuff at the wall, but once you get a sale, you backtrack what steps led to this. That becomes your process. If you want to scale, you need a script, a repeatable process that maximizes the likelihood of purchase, even when the founder isn't directly involved. Brand is an asset. Brand is one of the most valuable things you can know. It gives you insane returns on advertising, allows you to price far above the market, and keeps people only buying from you. It's an association people make. It's built by what you say, what others say about you, and most importantly, what customers experience. If you fulfill your promise consistently, people will say, wow, they are what they said they were. This builds a competitive moat. Story time. The marketing machine. I worked with a company that had a great product, but their marketing was scattershot. They were throwing money at random ads, hoping for a return. They were thinking like a customer, just buying advertising space. I told them, you're not deploying capital, you're gambling. You need a quad marketing calendar. We broke down their marketing into 4 distinct campaigns. One for new leads, one for existing customers to buy again, one for attracting top talent, and one for keeping their existing employees engaged. We treated each campaign as a strategic deployment of attention and resources. They started using content to build a brand, cold outreach to generate immediate leads, and targeted ads for specific offers. Their sales team used a meticulously crafted script that converted prospects into loyal customers. And the results, their revenue exploded. They learned that marketing isn't just about getting attention. It's about strategic deployment of capital to generate maximum return across every aspect of your business. 6. The long game in compounding patience is profit. The customer thinks short-term gains, immediate gratification. The bank thinks long-term compounding, understanding that true wealth is made in the wait. Compounding, the 8th wonder of the world. Compounding is when something multiplies unto itself. If you have $100 and it compounds at 10% a year, it grows exponentially. The longer you do it, the better it gets. The money isn't made in the buy or the sell. It's made in the wait. Charlie Munger's wisdom. The hard part of the plan is sticking with the plan, not doing the plan. Rhetorical question, are you building a flimsy tower for 10 seconds or a skyscraper for 10 years? Patience is a skill. Being patient simply means figuring out what to do in the meantime. While your investments are compounding, while your long-term plans are coming to fruition, what are you actively doing? You're learning, building skills, continuing to execute. This prevents you from interrupting the compounding process due to boredom or perceived stagnation. The marshmallow test analogy. Kids who could delay gratification, not eat the marshmallow immediately, use strategies to distract themselves, earning a second marshmallow. The more skilled you are, the more ways you can win and the more patient you can be. Quality over speed. Early on, the fact that people are in a rush causes them to build things differently. The fastest way to get to $10 million is to start back at 0 and build it right to begin with. If your product is mediocre, lots of marketing only ensures more people know your product is mediocre. Focus on making the thing exceptional first, then pour gasoline on the fire. Example, Chick-fil-A grew responsibly, focusing on making their product and experience better, not just bigger. Boston Market grew fast, diluted talent, took on debt, and failed. Quality will always win in the long term. Story time. The farmer and the fast food chain. I once met 2 entrepreneurs. One was building a tech startup, obsessed with rapid growth, chasing valuations, and burning through capital for speed. He was thinking like a customer, trying to get rich quick. The other was building a sustainable, high-quality food business, meticulously perfecting his product, focusing on customer experience. He was thinking like a bank, valuing long-term compounding. The tech guy hit massive valuations fast, but his foundation was shaky. His product was good, but not exceptional. His rapid growth led to bloat and diluted talent. The food guy, however, embraced the long game. His early years were boring, slow, and steady growth. He focused on getting better, not just bigger. He reinvested his profits into quality, not just expansion. Years later, the tech startup imploded, a victim of its own unsustainable speed. The food business, it had compounded into a multi-billion-dollar empire, built on an undeniable reputation for excellence. The founder learned that the money isn't made in the buy or the sell. It's made in the wait. That's the power of the long game, and compounding the banker's ultimate secret weapon. 7. Investing in human capital, the talent arbitrage. The customer complains about labor costs. The bank views talent as an asset, recognizing that investing in top-tier human capital yields disproportionate returns. Your best talent is in the future. Your best talent, you haven't even hired them yet. Your best talent is in the future. The level of a business grows like a Christmas tree, with the number and intelligence of brains that goes up. If you have lots and lots of intelligent brains, the size of the business is huge. If you only have one brain that's intelligent, and everyone underneath that has a subset of those skills, then it's only one brain competing against companies that have 100 smart brains. The power of hiring ahead. All companies will, unless controlled for dilute down talent. People hire people they're not threatened by. You have to implement a rule. Every person you hire, you want to raise the average bar of the team they're getting hired into. The outsized return on intelligence is so high that it's one of the fundamental arbitrages that exists in business. How much time you save by hiring somebody who knows exactly what to do, how it drives revenue, and they can use 10 years of experience that you don't have to pay for. The price of mediocrity. Small business owners often want to save $5,000 on an annual salary for somebody they know is perfect for the job. But a B player at $100,000 a year might be worth 5x less than an A++ player at $170,000. Paying 50% more for someone who can move you 10 years forward is an obvious investment. Hard conversations for massive returns. Many people never have the hard conversations about underperforming talent because they don't want to hurt feelings. This bottlenecks growth. You need to hire someone with more experience, even if it means moving someone aside. This is how you unlock massive wealth. Story time. The $1 million employee. Early in my career, I was doing everything myself, micromanaging, exhausted. I was thinking like a customer, trying to save every penny on labor. My business was bottlenecked by my own capacity. I believed I couldn't afford top talent. Then I made a painful but necessary mental shift. I started thinking like a bank. People are capital. I hired my first $50,000 a year employee who managed one location, allowing me to open a second that made $250,000. That was a 5x return. My first $300 a year salesperson brought in $5 million in sales, a 14x return. My first $1 million employee saved me $3 million a year immediately and helped package our companies for a sale. That was a 50x return. The cost of talent is an illusion if you measure it by output. I learned that the arbitrage on value actually increased as I spent more. That's why the biggest businesses compete for talent. They understand that talent is what makes them big. The biggest constraint to you getting rich is that your company's talent isn't good enough. 8. Risk management. Calculated moves for maximum return. The customer avoids risk at all costs, seeking safety and security. The bank, however, understands that calculated risk is essential for maximum return. They swing for the fences, but with a strategy. Huge risks with small money, small risks with lots of money. Fortunes are created through taking huge risks with small amounts of money. Fortunes are preserved by taking small risks with lots of money. When you're early on, you can afford to take bigger bets because the downside is limited. Later, with a fortune, you minimize risk. Long-tail distribution of returns. In business, unlike baseball, when you step up to the plate, you can score 1,000 runs. Big winners pay for so many experiments. This long-tail distribution of returns is why it's important to be bold. You're still going to be wrong 9 times out of 10, but that one home run pays for everything. Disciplined, risk-taking. This isn't reckless gambling. It's about understanding the probabilities. A bank knows when to lend, when to pull back. They assess the likelihood of success and the potential return. They don't just hope for a breakthrough, they orchestrate it through calculated moves. They know that life itself is risky, and the timid approach yields only a guaranteed existence. The problem is lack of ideas, not money. Jim Rohn said, the problem is lack of an idea on how to create money and wealth. It isn't lack of money, it's lack of ideas to generate those high-return calculated risks. You need a factory of ideas fueled by continuous learning and accurate thinking. Story time. The bold investor who never lost sleep. I knew an investor, immensely wealthy, but he wasn't a gambler in the traditional sense. He'd take enormous risks, but he'd sleep like a baby. Why? Because his risks were calculated. He didn't just throw money at every opportunity. He analyzed, he researched, he understood the probabilities. He thought like a bank, meticulously assessing risk versus reward. Early on, he took huge risks with relatively small amounts of capital, knowing that if one hit, it would pay for all the misses. He wasn't afraid of failure. He saw it as data. As his fortune grew, his risk profile shifted. He then took smaller risks with massive amounts of money, preserving his gains while still compounding. He taught me that true wealth isn't about avoiding risk, it's about mastering it. It's about taking calculated, strategic leaps that others are too scared to take because they don't understand the upside. That's the banker's way of playing the game. 9. To gain wealth as an infinite pursuit. The customer sees wealth as a finish line. Once I hit X amount, I'm done. The bank sees wealth not as a destination, but as an infinite game. Playing the game for the game's sake. Enjoying your wealth is not about not working. Humans are our best when we do work that's worth doing. When we have purpose that we derive from the effort and the toil that we put in every day. You get weaker when you don't have an opposing force that's as strong as you. Unless you're continually raising the bar, you eventually atrophy. It's use it or lose it. Infinite games versus finite games. The best games in life are infinite games, not finite games. The point isn't to get married. The point is to stay married. The point isn't to win at business. The point is to stay in business and literally keep playing. Rhetorical question. Are you playing to win once or playing to stay in the game forever? The unending evolution. If you fast forward all the way to the end of the movie, as a reminder, you die and you can't take any of it with you. So the whole point of the game is to play the game. By playing the game, we win the game. This realization helps you reframe how you spend your time so that you can enjoy your wealth. Choose to be uncommon. I choose not to be a common man. It is my right to be uncommon. If I can, I seek opportunity, not security. I want to take calculated risks to dream and build, to fail and succeed. I refuse to live from hand to mouth. I prefer the challenges of life to a guaranteed existence, the thrill of fulfillment to the stale calm of utopia. I will never cower before any master, nor bend to any threat. Story time, the billionaire who still grinded. I once asked a billionaire, a guy who had enough money to buy an island, why he still worked 14-hour days, still took high-stakes meetings, still pushed the boundaries. He could have been lounging on a yacht. He just smiled and said, Jordan, the point isn't to get rich. The point is to play the game. He explained that for him, wealth wasn't a finish line. It was a scoreboard. He derived immense purpose and satisfaction from the process of building, solving complex problems, innovating. He constantly raised the bar for himself, seeking new challenges, because he understood that if he stopped pushing, he would atrophy. He saw life as an infinite game where the goal was continuous growth, not just accumulation. He learned that the greatest enjoyment comes from the toil, the creativity, the relentless pursuit of something meaningful. He was the ultimate bank, constantly deploying his capital, his time, his intellect, not just for profit, but for the sheer joy of the game itself. You've heard it all. The brutal truth, the fundamental, game-changing shift. The difference between the broke and the bank. It's not about how much money you have. It's about how you think about it. We've dissected the banker's mindset. Capital deployment versus consumption. Money is a tool to grow, not a toy to spend. The power of focus, concentrating resources for disproportionate returns. Solving pain, extracting value, targeting deep market needs, and the ability to pay Architecting irresistible value, designing offers that compel action and minimize customer cost. Strategic marketing and sales, deploying attention and resources as capital. The long game and compounding, embracing patience for exponential wealth. Investing in human capital, recognizing talent as the ultimate asset. Bam! Not just bigger, prioritizing quality for sustainable, undeniable growth. Calculated risk management, making bold moves with strategic precision. The infinite game, pursuing wealth not as a finish line, but as a continuous journey of growth and mastery. This isn't a suggestion, it's an ultimatum. Are you going to continue thinking like a customer, trapped in a cycle of consumption and mediocrity? Or are you going to embrace the banker's mindset, deploy your capital, your time, your talent, and your relentless effort, and start building the massive, unapologetic wealth you were born to command? The world is a system of capital flows. It's waiting for you to learn how to command it. The key to the kingdom is in your hands. It all starts with a shift in your thinking. Stop seeing the world through the lens of a consumer. Start seeing it as a system of capital flows that you can command and control for your own enrichment. Your destiny awaits. Now go get it.